Hi everyone, to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. September is here, and even though it's super hot outside, we still have summertime weather here in Texas. I have fall vibes going on in my house and in my head, so today I'm bringing to you Milopita, but I'm making it like a coffee cake. In Greece, we make it sometimes as a pie or as a cake. Today I'm bringing you the cake version. We're going to be making the cake with olive oil instead of butter, and I'm adding a buttery streusel on top so we get the best of both worlds. You can leave the streusel off. You could also make this completely vegan. I'll put all the substitutions on the blog post. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with the dry ingredients. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I like to go heaping teaspoons. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And the zest of an orange. And whisk that all together. Now for the wet ingredients. I have 3/4 cup of light olive oil. You can use your favorite vegetable oil for this. You could even go all the way up to 1 cup of olive oil if you wanted it to be even more moist. I have 1½ cups of granulated sugar. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, 3 eggs that are at room temperature, I always add the baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon to the wet ingredients. 1/2 cup of plain yogurt. This could be Greek yogurt or just regular yogurt. And just whisk that all up. I'm just gonna set that aside and I'm gonna prepare the apples. You need 3 apples for this. 2 apples are gonna go in the cake and the last apple is gonna be on top of the cake. Just go ahead and peel them, core them, and then finely chop them. So this 3rd apple is not going to get finely chopped. It's just going to get thinly sliced and cored. I'm going to do that afterwards. It's going to be part of the topping. But these, they've already been peeled. I'm just going to cut them in half and then just get the core out. And this is a good size. Go ahead and put the diced up apples in a big bowl along with 3/4 cup of walnuts, pecans, whatever your favorite nuts are, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You could also add some dried fruit to this if you want, like raisins or cranberries. I did test it with the raisins and I feel like they take away from the apple flavor, so I'm just gonna leave them out. Toss everything together in the flour. That's gonna prevent all the apples and walnuts from sinking to the bottom of the cake. Now we're just gonna add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients in 2 or 3 batches. Smells so good once that cinnamon and clove powder hit the wet mixture. Be careful not to overmix because now we're gonna add the apples and the walnuts and then we're just gonna fold them in until they're incorporated. That's it, the batter is ready. I have a 9-inch round springform pan. It's gonna make it very easy to release the cake from the pan once it's baked. But springform pans do sometimes leak, so I like to place them on top of a baking pan and then put it in the oven. You could grease the inside of the pan with either olive oil or with this avocado cooking spray or whatever cooking spray you use. Now you can bake the cake as is, but we're gonna add a streusel topping to make it sort of like a coffee cake. So you need 4 tablespoons of butter. Unsalted butter is best, that's 1/2 stick. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dice it up. 1/4 cup of brown sugar. You want it to be tightly packed. 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. A little pinch of salt. and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can use a fork and just break everything all up. If the butter is too cold, then you can go ahead and use your fingers. If you wanted to make this ahead of time, then you can just melt the butter and add it to the flour, sugar, and cinnamon mixture, and then refrigerate it or freeze it as you're making your cake batter, and then you can just crumble it up and put it on top. It's a little bit dry, so I'm gonna add some more butter to it, just another little tablespoon. But if you're keeping this cake vegan, go ahead and either leave this topping out or use a vegan butter for it. I know that there are eggs in the cake, but there are egg substitutes when you're baking cakes, and flaxseed is one of them. I'll put the substitute in the blog post, the amount that you'll need. I've never tried it, but I think it should work in this recipe. And I know that there's yogurt in there too, so you could just swap out the yogurt for some almond milk or for something like that. Even orange juice would work. Then go ahead and core the apple. And just thinly slice it. And then just take a little handful of the apple slices at a time and just tuck them into the cake. And that's it, the cake is ready for the oven. Okay, so once you have the batter in the pan, in the prepared pan, you want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to bake this on the center rack for an hour and 30 minutes. Keep an eye on it, because if your oven heats on the warmer side, I don't want you to burn this cake, to go through all of this effort and then to burn the cake. So keep an eye on it. Check it at the 1 hour mark, and once you insert a toothpick into the center, if it comes out clean or with some moist crumbs attached, then you can take it out. Once it comes out of the oven, I want you to let it cool completely. Just run a knife around the edges of the cake to help it release from the pan. Let it sit in the pan for like a good 30-40 minutes. Then take it out of the pan and put it on a cake platter, on a pedestal, on a cake pedestal, whatever you're going to be serving it on. You can dust some powdered sugar on top of it, or you could serve it as is. You could even make a nice maple glaze with just some maple syrup and a little bit of confectioner sugar, a splash of vanilla extract, maybe some orange juice. You can get creative with it and just drizzle it on top, but it's perfect as is. I took mine out today at an hour and 20 minutes, and it sort of sank in the center because it still needed to cook a tiny bit more, but I didn't want it to overcook on the edges. But an hour and 30 minutes is what it usually takes in my oven. I want to stress that as much as I can. This is a very thick, deep cake, so it is going to take more time to cook. You can definitely make smaller versions of this by making these in a cupcake pan. You would just fill up a cupcake pan that's filled with liners about 3/4 of the way up with the batter, and then you could put some apple slices on top and the streusel on top of that, or leave the streusel out if you're not into it. And then you would bake them for between 22 to 25 minutes, or same thing. Once a toothpick that's inserted into the center comes out clean, you know that it's ready. Let them cool completely, and then you could even freeze them once they're cooled. Put them in freezer-safe bags and keep them in your freezer for a month or two. Take them out and lightly toast them and serve them with some coffee. Anyway, the cake is ready, so it is time for the taste test. I love it. It's like fall in every bite. The cinnamon and the cloves just give it such nice warmth. It's like almost like baklava flavored. I love the little crunch and the texture that the walnuts lend. Again, you can use pecans instead if that's what you have, or you could also leave them out. It's up to you. I think you guys are gonna love this one. You can print out the recipe on the website, www.dimitrasdishes.com. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you wanna learn how to make Milopita and little mini phyllo apple pies, click over here and I'll see you right over there. Yes, Zest.